All right, so we're gonna try a few things a little bit different this time around. So Don put together a template for sort of our meeting agendas going forward. Um, just gonna go over the um, bigger bullet points here. First, we're gonna try and uh, take a look at the roadmap and see sort of what objectives we should be focusing on for the next couple of months. Then we're going to kind of go back to reviewing what everyone's worked on the past week or 2 weeks, depending on uh, the time period between this meeting and the previous one. Uh, then we're going to talk about each of our goals for the next week. Uh, this time we're going to try and come up with some like concrete action items. And this week we kind of want to discuss different ways to manage different projects, be it GitHub issues or other project management tools. And then we're going to go over like any concerns that we foresee for the next week, any like blocking issues that we're waiting on from other team members, or any sort of other development roadblocks that we could see running into, or perhaps even collaboration issues. And then at the very end, we'll each come up with action items for the following week. All right. So I'll start with myself. I hold on. Let's wait a couple more minutes for one or two more people.
Pretty sure Dan was going to be here for this. Not sure where he is.
I just don't want to start without Dan here. He did say he could make it, but still a little bit weird timing with 4th of July right now. Not sure how many people are here and can make it, but we're gonna try and commit to doing this, once a week. Wednesdays at noon or 1 o'clock Eastern seem to work best for a majority of the people on the team, considering all time zones. Oh, there's Dan. So we'll continue doing it at 1 Eastern, maybe noon Eastern, going forward. And then if a better time works for a majority of the people, then we can consider changing it from there.
Hi everyone. Yep, that sounds good.
You did. All right. So the major items coming up on the roadmap are the rebase. This is sort of like our biggest work item right now. Don't know if JC's here right now, but he's been sort of spearheading the rebase efforts. And over the past couple of weeks, we've kind of had a bunch of people asking us, where's the code? Like, why isn't the code on the main BitcoinPrivate GitHub repo? And that's just because the way JC works and some of the other collaborators on the team, they work via pull requests. So they'll fork the repo to their own private GitHub or public GitHub, and then do a bunch of work there, and then clean it up. And then when there's a tangible set of commits that are ready to be merged in, then they'll create a pull request, and the workflow is, other people review that pull request, and then it gets merged in from there. And that's also why the GitHub, you don't see very many contributors with like write access. Those are just the people doing reviews and have access to merge pull requests. So Rebase, as far as I know, is coming along pretty well. Do we, Don, do you know if we have any timeline yet for when it's going to be completed?
I think that we're trying to just be conservative and publicly still states end of on Q3, which technically end of Q3 would still meet that requirement. So I believe that's what we're still targeting.
Yeah, I know the blockchain is syncing much more quickly. There was a big update on the last community update on what the rebase means. So I'm not going to go into all of those details now, but it looks like we're still on track on the roadmap for that. The other roadmap items for Q2 relate to the BTCP pay completion. Dan, I don't know if you want to talk about sort of like higher picture roadmap stuff of where you see things lining up.
Yeah, sure. I can talk a little bit for a minute, and then if Matt Pass wants to say anything as well, I think that would be fine. But just to give you a quick overview, we have this master roadmap for BTC Pay for the next 2 months, and basically it involves finishing up inviting all the beta testers and jumping right into developing the first plugin for a major e-commerce platform, and that will be Shopify actually. So we're very confident that we can have a solution for all Shopify merchants so that they can actually use BitcoinPrivate with their e-commerce stores. So that is like one of the major things that we want to get out by probably, yeah, we're talking about doing it by August. So that'll be on August, yeah. And then we want to announce by the end of July, the version 1.0 of BTC Pay. So we're going to open it to the public, and people can, go ahead and test it further from there. But also Matt Pass, he's working on integrations for WordPress and other solutions as well. I don't know if Matt Pass, if you want to say anything on that regards, but basically we have an outline where we are describing what we're going to be working on for the next 2 months, week by week, and we will be more than happy to share that with everyone so that they will know what's coming.
Yeah, sure. So pretty much as Dan said, really, we've come up with a plan to roll out over the next few weeks to open beta. Obviously, we need feedback from people, the merchants that are using it under closed beta. But rather than just wait for feedback and do nothing, we are working on integrations. Dan's been looking quite heavily into the Shopify integration, and we've got a solid plan for that we believe no one else has really come up with. Absolutely works, and yeah, very, very soon. In the meantime, I've been looking at WordPress and WooCommerce integrations, and just today I've got integrations working for both of those. So you can have a WordPress site into it and say take a donation or a payment directly from your WordPress site, and just in the last hour I've got it working with WooCommerce as well. Checkout process of shopping, and when you get to checkout, BitcoinPrivate is an option you can pay, use to pay with alongside Stripe, or so you would choose BitcoinPrivate. Again, it pops up the widget display, and as per normal, you can pay using BitcoinPrivate. As soon as the transaction's gone through, it automatically checks out as well. So that was quite exciting today. We've got both and WooCommerce taking live payments already, and solid plans for Shopify.
Yeah, and like you just said, just to let everyone know, so the integration with Shopify is not easy. You have to be approved by them, and there are only maybe two major companies that are approved. One of them is BitPay, and the other one is I forgot the name, but yeah, they're basically two companies that are officially approved to be a payment processor for cryptocurrencies with Shopify. But like Matt Pass said, we came up with a very creative way of not requiring that approval process and letting the merchants choose, to use Bitcoin Private instead, just by installing a plugin or probably adding 2 lines of code um, to their e-commerce to their template. Actually, that's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it's very exciting. A lot of things coming our way. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. We got a lot of things on our plate for the next 2 months.
Okay, awesome. And then Chaotic, thanks for coming in. Could you speak to the roadmap update, like a higher level view of the Rebase's efforts and what like major milestones have been completed? If you can talk, that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he has a micro.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, hey.
Hey,
Welcome.
sorry, I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So the rebase has been going really well, actually. JC has kind of led me along, and I've been working on it pretty hard the last 2 weeks. Things that are coming have been talked about a few times on the roadmap or the community updates, but it's pretty much working toward allowing for Lightning and having SegWit Fetch32 addresses, which is like there's no capital or lowercase, and it's all letters and numbers, and it's a smaller QR code. So, and the addresses will start with P, but these are like allowing people to fully use SegWit. So that's coming along basically completely. It's the only thing that we're working on now is getting the Z functions to work in RPCs. So basically that's sending shielded transactions. We just have some touch-up work to do there, but all of the core code has been moved over and things are running and the chain is syncing. And I welcome everyone to look on GitHub and the repo BTCPrivate/BTCP Rebase. And there is a couple of pull requests there with the latest progress. So things have been going really well and all of the basics are in. And there's also a lot of tests to get working. So that might extend the timeline a little bit, but put it this way, we can start testing as a community pretty soon. And I think Michael Otis and a few other people set up a test net a bit back. So we will be playing with that. So far, we've only needed reg test, which is the local test environment. And it's been mostly coding changes, but we're about to start testing. So it's been quite a good time and it's come along nicely.
All right. Awesome. And then just, I think those are the major roadmap items. As far as Electrum work goes, the past couple weeks I've kind of been furloughed as I was moving from like one house to another. So I think the top of my priority right now is shielded transactions in Electrum, as well as a few bug fixes for hardware wallet support on Ledger, and then a new release of Electrum for Trezor wallets. I don't know if those need to be added to the roadmap, but we've kind of they're kind of like minor things, the hardware wallet items.
Did you look at Zip32 at all?
Yes, the that's shielded address hierarchical deterministic. Yeah. I was looking at it. I don't know if it's ready for mainline support yet. I was kind of just going to use the code already from Zcash to generate the shielded addresses or the shielded private keys, and then maybe we can update it from there afterwards.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. It's just a really cool addition, like that will if it's sound, it should be sound, but it will really make the ecosystem a lot more comfortable when working with Z addresses, so they're not all piecewise managed and such.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think that's going to be important. For now, though, the way that I kind of want the shielded transactions to work in Electrum, it would kind of be, I don't know, I still have to test the performance of my implementation and see, like,
yeah, certainly.
Yeah, because going through and decoding each of the shielded commitments and nullifiers can be pretty expensive, and you have to keep all of them around.
Yeah.
So having like
gotta keep those anchors.
Yeah, having the HT wallet addresses could be problematic if there's like a ton of them that you're using. Probably
there's like the notion of a key pool that you could like put logic with, but I understand. Good point.
Yeah, you probably have to have certain methods to like expand like the number of addresses that you're scanning for. But let's see, any other like big roadmap items we should be adding? I guess the only other big item is the proof of work change that we've wanted to add into the rebase. Don, do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I think we've publicly stated that we've got a running testnet running on Equihash 192.7. I think that we're getting probably to a point where we as a dev team need to make a final decision on the algo, or at least determine the parameters or the variables by which we would want to consider to make a decision on an algo. And so we could talk about that in our concerns section a little later, so that that doesn't become a blocker for the rebase. Once we make that decision, I think Otis and I can probably tackle that portion and integrate that, while JC and Kiata continue to work on the other portions of the rebase.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's just go through the reviewing what each of us has worked on for the past couple of weeks. I'll start with saying that, you know, I haven't had much progress, but I'm kind of moved into my new office and can start work this next week. So I think the next release I'm gonna have is a new Electrum that supports the Trezor wallet on Windows. On Linux, I already have, like, if you use our Linux release and download from source, you can already initialize a Trezor on BTCP, but you have to update the firmware. So it's kind of like a two-step process. So I've confirmed that it works already. We just need to make a build for Windows, and then along with the new build for Windows is going to be support for the BitcoinPrivate URI for BTCP Pay.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and then that's probably going to be my action item for the week as well. Let's see. Going down the list, Don, do you have some stuff to talk about?
My past and future week responsibilities will likely be around the restructuring reorg efforts. So that won't strictly be code, but hopefully this effort will help the entire team be more efficient.
Yeah, do you want to talk about how that's going to work?
Yeah, I think to provide a little bit of a preview, so community, we are finding that we need more organizational structure in order to take the contribution team to the next level, and also to better allow for contributions from the general community and casual contributors as well. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be gradually and incrementally moving the contribution team towards committees. a protocol committee, an ecosystem committee, a public relations committee, and so forth. And these committees, those at least the three that I just mentioned, will allow for community members to be more involved and to contribute in whatever capacity they can towards those efforts. And that would also allow for us to kind of narrow our focuses, especially the people on the core team. We've been just inundated from needs across the board, from dev, operations, exchanges and partnerships, and so forth. And this will allow us to kind of further specialize and focus in on our specific interests so that we can be more effective and also avoid burnout.
Awesome. I think it's going to make us much more efficient and kind of allow people to take ownership of
yeah, this is my first time hearing about this, and I really like it. I think it's we had some good structure at the beginning, and for the last few months it's become more and more challenging because of the scale and because of the bear market, shows all the best and worst and everything too. So I think it was like a really good time for us to learn, and I think committees is a good way to change the structure.
Yeah, and the whole point of this is to foster autonomy in development. So we won't have to have a ton of people signing off on a bunch of different changes. Like people can work in committees and then develop things autonomously from each other, and then kind of bring those together.
Are we thinking about
Cool.
Are we thinking about getting the SendHub software? Is that part of the plan, or are we still thinking about it?
We haven't discussed project management tools just yet. ZenHub is
I think it's the thing that people are most in favor of, I think, and we do really need something.
I will say we should try something at least, so we can give it a try, for a month. If it works, great. If not, we might have to find something better. But yeah, it is the favorite tool by most devs, especially.
Well, we could also consider using it for some of the committees or such. Like if we keep development exclusively on GitHub, that might be a good pattern too. So it's a little bit of discussion there. Maybe Big Dave can help us.
Yeah, I'm thinking that each committee would have enough autonomy to be able to decide their own tools. So the exchanges, for instance, could pick their own tool, and whatever works for the devs, whether it be GitHub or anything else, you guys, the committees can just make that decision internally. I know that this is like approaching a lot of new material, new ideas. And I know that the next community update is probably on BTCP Pay, but perhaps maybe we can also introduce this idea of the restructuring to the community as well.
As the people sort of leading the way on BTCP Pay, and we're both quite keen on ZenHub, do you want to start using it as well? Because I already use it and test how it works, and it's free, and we can see if it's worthwhile sort of promoting to everybody else to use as well, so we can be.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, we'll share our experience with everyone else. I think that's a good idea, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's been like a while ago I would have said that we should stick with GitHub only, but because kind of like Don just said, the needs of everything quickly become operations and other things scale. Might as well kind of have something external to GitHub, but we should still leverage our Git protocol adjacent to our project management tools, if you will. There's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, so ZenHub just kind of, does that operate on top of GitHub issues, and it just kind of like adds like metadata and like a nice visualization to it?
You've pretty much summed it up. It's like GitHub, but just with new on top to help you manage things. You can move issues through different development pipelines, through different stages from spec to development, to testing, to review, QA, and sign off. You can view burn down charts. You can stories. It's very good with the agile sort of
I don't know if we want to get like too deep into the weeds with that sort of stuff.
Use
but
what you want from it.
Yeah, at least assigning like sort of Kanban cards or like and then like having people like move them from like you know, in a backlog to in progress to completed would be helpful.
Yeah, we did.
This would probably be a good segue to basically share with the committee an open invitation. If you want to participate in these emerging dev committees for either the protocol or the ecosystem, please message one of us and we can get you involved in these new channels. And that way you could also participate in the discussion around tools as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So before we get too off track in the review phase of things, Don, do you have anything else that you've been working on this past week?
No, that's been my primary focus, and it probably will be for at least the next week, if not more.
Okay, awesome. And then let's, I think at the end we can talk about Zen Hub again, just to keep things on topic. Chaotic, what have you been working on the last week? You kind of touched on it a little bit with the rebase efforts, but specifics.
Yeah, so I've been basically integrating all of the like notes, commitments, nullifiers, and other wallet-related functions into the rebase from the basically a mix of the Zcash and the BTCPrivate implementations. But I've been pretty careful about that. JC earlier had basically scaffolded out the initial code, and there was a good bit to bring over. So that's what I've been doing the last week or two. And the chain syncs and basic wallet functionality works. And the Qt wallet, as you can see in a pull request, I already have made it BitcoinPrivate, but don't try to use it yet because it's not ready. One of the initiatives we're going to be doing is trying to get that Qt wallet set up for kind of future-proofed, if you will, and allowing Z transactions, because Zcash doesn't even have a Qt wallet. Nobody knows why. And if you don't know what Qt is, it's just like a cross-platform GUI wallet. That's the one that Bitcoin uses.
Well,
I also had a discussion
Zcash wallet support's always been
Electron wallet.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a toss-up, but I favor personally sticking with the Qt one for consistency across basically keeping up to date with Bitcoin core changes, but it won't be required. Before going too much more off topic, other things I've done is some research into like as a merchant receiving shielded transactions, because there's a bit of a like caveat where your daemon won't tell anybody about the fact that you received a shielded transaction, right? So there are some implementation specifics there, which there are some options. So I did a little writing about that and have started preparing code for that. And we can use the encrypted memos for information too. So this is all coming along with like what I have coming out in the next 1 or 2 days, which is a standalone demo of the merchant platform that allows for you basically put in your email and the address you'll be paying with in advance, and then it will deliver a receipt of your payment to that email. So you can acknowledge that you received the payment, even if it's like, a long-standing or long confirmation transaction. So that, and then allowing for that with Z addresses as the merchant is the second half of that I'm working on right now. And that's pretty much it. Those are the things this week. It's just been the rebase and a little research on shielded transactions for merchants. Sorry, that was long.
Yeah, and if I think what we're going to start doing is taking all of the sort of like next couple weeks work and then making like specific actions items out of them. So you kind of summarized it a little bit at the end, but if you could like write it down for us and then we can create tickets for it, that would be perfect. Just post it.
So things for this upcoming week or things?
Yeah, like
upcoming
week, and then like things that you would like to see like after that as well, just sort of like work items.
Okay, sure.
All right, that's good. Dan, what have you been up to?
Mostly a lot of debugging. Also, I've been working on moving the UI from a flat bootstrap into Vue.js to make it a bit more dynamic to actually have a nice interface. And then also server, I'm trying to work on a server management tool so that people can actually manage the servers from the website. And this will eventually turn into a server deployment tool so that our website can offer them an option to connect, their AWS or DigitalOcean accounts and deploy servers that are completely configured for them. So a lot of people that don't have, the technical knowledge to deploy a server and configure it by themselves, they'll eventually have the option to do it directly from our website. I've seen other companies do this. It's not that difficult, and I think Laravel offers all the tools for deployment, so that should be fine. And then, but I'm kind of putting that in pause and focusing on the next outline that we have for the next 2 months, and focus on the bigger picture. It was fun to work on these things, but they do take a lot of time, and I think we have to move a little faster and getting this out there for the people to use. And then
Hey Dan,
that's pretty much
another
it.
thing about DigitalOcean that I was playing with it the other day, and this helped me. I was actually deploying something for Bitcoin Lightning as a demo or practice, and I used DigitalOcean with Docker, and that was actually a really fast experience, because they had a Docker file prepared, so I snapped it in, and that was like maybe 3 clicks after sign up. So an automation tool would be awesome around that. That would make it like 1 click, literally, but it's pretty good these days with Docker.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to point something out, the creator of Laravel, he made a system where you can deploy your Laravel server with everything that you could ever need. It's called Laravel Forge, and he does exactly the same thing that we're trying to do. And what he did that for, as a service, where people may not pay a monthly fee to use it. He also made available all the functions and all the tools that you could ever need to work with DigitalOcean and other providers. So yeah, DigitalOcean makes things a lot easier. It's way easier than AWS. So it could be a great way of getting people their own servers.
Cool.
And MatPass, I don't know if you want to touch on this end as well. I know that he worked on several things this past month, actually. So I don't know if you want to kind of tell us what you were doing. I know you had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked on a lot of different things the last week or two. It depends on how much you want me to talk about, but I'll just talk about last week. Obviously, today I've just got the WordPress and WooCommerce side working with, so you can take payments via both of those. They are very rough, early stage developments, but they've taken the first payments and ready things up, and myself and Dan can start testing that, and perhaps with a few select people in time we can early feedback. But it literally is just today that I've got the development of that working. But that's quite exciting. Obviously, we've come up with a plan for the next 2 months, as Dan said, an avenue which we can take with, get it working within that. So that's really great. Do what Chaotic said earlier, go down the Bitcore route. I've been looking at BitcoinJS lib to craft some transactions. So with Node, I've been create wallets, send transactions, that sort of thing, and that could form the basis for a new wallet going forward. We've got a really nice design, so I'm trying to gel everything together, but again, very early stages. System, a bit of a spin-off really of BTCP Pay. It made good sense to take the widget out of the screen and into the real world, perhaps restaurants, shops, stores, that kind of thing. Bought a POS printer and made some adjustments to BTCP Pay, but using the underlying technology, and built a UI. So someone in a store or restaurant will show the customer the QR code, they scan it, transaction goes through and comes out the POS printer. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. Working on potentially a new wallet, BTCP Pay, evolving it into BTCP EPOS, and looking at integrations as well. And I'll pretty much be continuing all of that for the next week or so.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, huge applause. That's awesome, Matt. Like, I think that the point of sale thing is pretty perfect. Where this will really get cool too, like BTCP Pay in general, is when we have Lightning. I know it's kind of like, even Lightning and Bitcoin, the discussion of it seems like a pipe dream or something, but it's very inbounds. Eclair and Neutrino, actually, these are two things that have just come to Bitcoin and are basically going to allow everyone to be a point of sale terminal and a wallet. And so it'll really enable the ecosystem to fly and have these payments be fast. And like BTCP will be just the same as, I hate to even say this, but it kind of analogous to Litecoin, but with all the privacy goodness, right? So we're going to be just all caught up. And as everybody gets into Lightning, it's going to be great for us in our payments type of excitement.
Mm-hmm. And we can even like start leading the way before Bitcoin people start using Lightning, and
Certainly
actually have like merchants starting to accept Lightning payments.
That would be awesome.
All these benefits that we're bringing to like Lightning, atomic swaps, etc. We can talk about the future. I think even just yesterday, when myself and Chaotic were talking about potentially having a wallet, and you could convert your Bitcoin into BitcoinPrivate, or vice versa. Sort of spin-off ideas and benefits.
Yeah, as like our first atomic swap that we could present as a easy to use thing. But that is a future roadmap where we were thinking about it. But that is a very exciting possibility.
I mean, people could perhaps get a new wallet, load their Bitcoin into it, and potentially convert it to BitcoinPrivate within the wallet. So dreams, but it just shows the things that we can build by having this new tech that we're bringing in.
Yeah, maybe we can submit a pull request to the Qt wallet for Bitcoin to have like a little atomic swap tab or something.
Yeah, that's a good play.
Be like, it would definitely add a bunch of liquidity if we could get those guys involved in this.
The part we'd have to make is the matchmaker. That's what Komodo BarterDex has inside of it. Like the atomic swaps is the logic to do the trade, but then you have to find the matches, right? But liquidity is very high among Bitcoin, but finding matches would be as simple as finding peers. So, it depends on what they want us to do, whether sticking in their daemon or outside of. But we can build this stuff.
Yeah, well, the idea is like if we could do it as like a second layer protocol on the wallet itself, you already have like this whole peer-to-peer network of full nodes that are running.
Right, that'd be awesome.
So you could very easily sort of build up liquidity amongst people that are trading via the wallet on atomic swaps.
Yeah, there's something called Interledger, which is going to be allowing for a lot of these cross-chain atomic swaps. This stuff gets really, really interesting quick, but like it's basically things people are trying to implement as fast as they can think them up. So it's really cool.
Yeah. And then BDA, you recently joined on as sort of a project manager role. Do you want to introduce yourself and talk about what you've been working on?
I'm not 100% sure if BDA actually still has voice access.
He should. He has the same role as Chaotic. So
I added him to the developer role, but he messaged me saying he's still having some issues. So we may need to figure that out at another time. But before we move on to BDA, Matt Pass, I've got you down in the meeting minutes for us continue work on BTC integrations. Do you have a good sense of how far you'll get within the next week?
BDA did say try not to commit to any kind of timescales, but if you just want me to throw it out there, in the next week, that we could have a more polished version.
Well, Matt, if it helps, I'll be delivering the basically the standalone example, and I already showed you the demo for transparent, so I can give you that as soon as like tonight with a README. But when I give you those, we'll have kind of a major opportunity to build more. So that'll be really soon. So this week should be good.
A new store demo into Chaotic?
Yeah, Chaotic.
I can't
Can you
hear
confirm?
you.
Is that a new store demo?
Probably want to talk to. I don't know. You want to talk to Dan as well as myself because I'll need to update the widget.js file to do a little tinkering and make sure it works with it. But probably the majority of the work and
Yeah.
the database side. Look up with both of us. I think Chaotic, but I imagine just finger in the air is probably going to be 5% work for me to do and 95% towards Dan. He's talked to both of us anyway.
Yeah, okay. I'll touch bases with you, Chaotic. I do want to test the new version that you have going, and yeah, the implementation that you did with the new database model, I think it works great. We should keep it in the Node.js server, and then any other integrations that we do with it, we'll just connect to that database, and then do whatever the integration wants with the actual data. But everything should stay there. So I like that approach a lot. Just wanted to let you know. But I'll touch base with you so I can test it and upgrade our server in our website as well.
Then to get an integration, to get it updated and working. From my own point of view, regarding integrations, I think was Don's question. Yeah, I'll be working on the WordPress and WooCommerce side. I mean, it works already, but it needs a lot of tidying up. The next week, I'd like to get those to and way before Shopify, which is a much more involved process.
Yes.
I have to speak to you, Dan, to test it out once I'm done in the next.
And yeah, and Don, just to give you an idea, so the integrations so MatPass is working on WordPress because we think that will take less time. So he just wanted to get it out of the way to move into Shopify. Shopify is a major one. We have to actually recreate the orders for the customer using the API, and then it involves several steps. So that'll take a little longer. That's why we're giving ourselves a month to work on that. Hopefully it'll be done in 2 weeks, but I'm being cautious there.
I mean,
yeah, once we get Shopify out of
WooCommerce,
the way, what is that?
Exactly what you said, really. WooCommerce and WordPress are sort of low-hanging fruit. They're easy to integrate with first, and also user demand. We've had a lot of people ask for those, as well as Shopify, but we're prioritizing it into simplicity order, I guess.
Okay, yeah, we can probably work on them at the same time. Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, so I guess so next I kind of want to just talk about ZenHub a little bit. It seems like a lot of people want to work with that for at least a test for the next few weeks to better manage our issues and to-dos. So who wants to take setting up ZenHub as a action item for the next few days?
I think that you don't, because it was a year ago that I actually started using ZenHub. I don't think it actually requires any setting up by a single person and dishing out credentials to your team. I think that individually you go and sign up for ZenHub, and then you authenticate it and approve it with your GitHub account, and then you can see what everyone else sees. So I think you do it on an individual basis. So for instance, I'm on ZenHub already. If Dan were to start using it, he'd go and sign up at ZenHub, integrate with GitHub. Next time he goes to GitHub, he can see the overlay on top of it, and he can then see some of the ZenHub things that I'm doing regarding pipelines and setup. So I think you set it up on an individual basis.
Okay, so to answer that question, MatPass, I guess we will both play with it and then let everyone else know how it works. Maybe create a little guide with some bullet points and then go from there. So if that works with everyone, I guess MatPass and I could go ahead and set it up if there's any setup that we need to do.
Yeah, and I will try to get around to every Git repo this week and clean up any issues that need to be closed and that sort of thing. I make sure I have permission to like close comments and stuff, or close issues and make comments and such, or I can't do it.
Another
Okay,
really
so
good topic, actually. Do we want to transfer any repos from our personal accounts into the main BTCP private
Yeah, Matt, if you want to
organization?
do yours, I think now could be a good time for that. Does everyone agree on that? Because Matt has had one BTCP widget repo that is in his private account. That's the only private repo we've been really working with, I think.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we'll discuss that within our committee, I guess. But yeah, if anyone else has any private repos, it'll be a good time to start moving them over.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is specifically private repos that people are collaborating and sharing code on.
Correct.
Not necessarily just
Yeah, the
private
main
repos
motivation
where
for having it private was just so that people weren't starting to work with broken code. So we were trying to be safer than not this time, besides just putting the warning like do not use, you know?
Mhm. All right. So we kind of covered the action items in everyone's updates. So we just need to kind of record those after the meeting's over. And then does anyone have any other business they want to bring up?
Personally, when are we planning to, on having the next meeting? Is Wednesday a good day for everyone around this time? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I tried to pick this time
It's fine for me.
because a lot of people can do it at lunch in the United States. Maybe moving it back to noon Eastern, is that better for people?
It's okay with me.
Hey, yeah, even better for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Noon.
think noon or 1 p.m. It's kind of work great for me as well. I can always step out of work, around that time and catch up. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So that works for us here, and then people in the EU, and then I guess in Asia, maybe if somebody wants to stay up till midnight.
Okay, great. So we'll keep it as every Wednesday around noon for now.
All right, cool. And it'll be back here in the same place. All right, thanks everyone for coming.
We'll see ya.
Happy 4th of July, everyone. Yep.
Yeah.
See ya. Enjoy the fireworks.
Hey, can anybody hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome.
Awesome. Only took 50 minutes to get myself heard. Thanks for all the information. It's been really, really useful to listen to. I'm going to go away and have a think about what's been said and see if I can come up with some plans that are going to help us all get to where we need to be.
Okay, if you want to help collaborate with the Zen Hub initiative, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.